All right, so we've hit 2:02, so we'll go ahead and get started. First, just want to thank each of you for joining with us today. So for this webinar, we're going to be talking about Sprinterra's property management solution. So you are going to have two presenters today. You'll have myself, Garrett Rochelle, Director of Growth here at Sprinterra. We'll also have Michael Antonelli, Founder and CEO of Anton Systems. We'll go into a little more background for both Sprinterra and Anton Systems in just a second. But before we do that, I wanted to take a look at the agenda for today. So as I mentioned, we're going to start with introductions. Then we'll move into the meat and potatoes of today's webinar, which is going to be a review of the property management market opportunity. We'll take a look at the ideal client profile. We'll answer the question, why Acumatica, and how are we different and better than the competition? How are we going to win against some of the big names that you would be competing against out there? How our property management solution is the ideal solution for this vertical. And we'll close it out with a product demonstration as well. Finally, we'll talk about go-to-market strategy, what the onboarding process looks like, and we'll also get a little bit into pricing to make sure that you have all the steps that you need to be able to get started with the property management solution. With that said, we'll move into introductions. So I'll start with a brief overview of Sprinterra. So Sprinterra has been around since 2007, with the last 12 plus years of that existence working in the Acumatica space. So we have around 100 engineers and developers on staff, and we have 40 plus who are designated to Acumatica. 2023 is when we started offering products as well as services. So our company is made up of two main divisions. So one is the services for Acumatica partners. So we offer services to Acumatica VARs, to ISVs, to OEMs, and to Acumatica themselves. And this includes customization development. It includes upgrade support. It includes modern UI transition, data migration, and several other technical services. In addition to that, we have ISV products, which include property management, which is the subject of today's webinar. And we also offer cash basis reporting, as well as a couple other solutions as well. On this slide here, won't spend too much time on it, but this just gives you an idea of some of the VAR clients that we work with, both for the property management solution as well as our cash basis solution. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Michael in just a second here. Before I move into that, wanted to give a very high level overview of our relationship with Anton Systems. So at Sprinterra, we have a strategic partnership with Anton Systems. So they assist with the pre-sales process for property management. They assist with implementation, and they've been a vital part of continuing to improve the property management solution, modernize it, and make sure that we have all the functionality that's needed to compete with the Yardis of the world and that type of a deal. This comes from decades and decades of experience that Anton Systems has in the property management space. And to tell you a little bit more about Anton Systems, I'll pass it over to Michael Antonelli.
Great. Thank you, Garrett. Okay. Looking good?
Looking good.
All right. Again, thank you. Welcome, everybody. So our company, Anton Systems, for the last 3 decades, we have 100% focused on real estate developers and property owners and managers. And over the last 3 decades, we've built a number of clients that are on legacy property management and accounting systems. And our partnership, with Acumatica was very timely because a couple of those products, have either been sunsetted or became legacy. So the point here is that we really understand the property management space, both from an owner manager, fee manager, and of course across different asset types that are out there. We became an Acumatica partner in 2021, and it was really a coinkydink that we really weren't looking for them as our property management provider. But after about 6 months, it was uncovered that they were actually, Acumatica was looking to stand up the property management as a new vertical inside their ecosystem. And so it was very timely for us to join. And since then, we've been fortunate on a daily, weekly basis to help roadmap the product, bringing not only our industry experience and technology experience, but being able to partner with Sprinterra as the technology partner. They are really the technical programming expertise that creates this product. So, the property management space is very interesting. If you're an Acumatica, business partner and you're looking, to expand into another vertical, this is certainly one to look at. It is as many cases in real estate companies are kind of laggers, but there's been a big uptick in the number of organizations in the real estate space that have moved to the cloud. Roughly over 60% of real estate type businesses since COVID have moved into the cloud. So there's demand for cloud-based software like Acumatica, and many of the competitors we'll talk about can be labeled as legacy. They may be very big in the marketplace. They may be very well known, big footprint, but when you look at their technology, you look under the hood, it is legacy. It is not what Acumatica has put together, since they came to market back in 2008. The other area of property management, and I've been through multiple recessions and many economical upsets, but at the end of the day, people need a place to live and shop, and that's where real estate comes in. And property management, somebody that needs to be there to collect the rents, take care of the properties. And there are in a transition where there's a huge amount of projects under renovations, where you see buildings being converted to condos. You're seeing underperforming condos being turned back to apartments. So that just opens up a whole new pool of residential type income to those types of assets. And then, of course, there's a lot of new development in a lot of areas of the country where large parcels of land are being purchased for multifamily, single family, mixed. Big thing now is mixed use, where you may have a 10-story building and the bottom two floors are retail, and then you've got commercial, then you got residential, and then you got, high-end, condos up on the top. So there's a lot of this vertical type things going on. So the point is, it's a very good market to enter into because of the popularity of the cloud, as well as the need to get off of legacy software. And if they're a property owner manager for the first time, they're looking for products that Acumatica produces. If you're an Acumatica partner, if you're an Acumatica user, the many attributes that it already brings as far as the adaptability, how you can configure, the SOC 1, SOC 2 compliant, the financial reporting. There's a lot of strengths in the technology, the workflows, the automation, the brand new releases of 25R2 and soon 26R1 as far as extending the capabilities of AI, extending the capabilities of very specific configurations that you as a user know how to do. And accounting for real estate business is it is a vertical that does require to understand the business, understand the people, understand the processes. And because of its a niche vertical market, there's not a lot out there. Yes, there are 85 ankle biters. Many of them only sell direct, so they don't have a partner channel. Many of them regret, especially in this economic times of not having a partner program. So there's a great opportunity for Acumatica partners with the Acumatica accounting background to kind of enter in here. The other key thing that when we became a partner is that real estate developers and property managers are very different than most other vertical markets. How many construction companies that have 30 entities? How many manufacturing companies have 40 entities? In real estate, there could be, we have a client with 120. So the multi-entity intercompany accounting inside Acumatica is very strong. Cash and accrual. Sprinterra brought cash basis reporting to Acumatica a few years ago, and that was a void in some industries, but in real estate, property management, that's a must. Being able to run both cash and accrual. This is kind of a moral of the where the industry is today. Again, we've done over 700 implementations. We do new implementations every day, and we really get to understand where they're currently at. What's their current technology? Was to hold what they develop. Usually they would develop and they would sell it or bring in a third party to manage it. So we're seeing the developers that are now holding properties. We also see owners now bringing in professional management. So they're bringing in third party property management organizations. The technology is a big thing. We all get it. But when we look at Acumatica's field service capability, when you look at the, anywhere, any device type scenario, you're going to see a lot more integration of smart buildings into their database, their accounting database programs. And we'll talk a little bit about where that's exposed in property management. Also, there are a lot of different parts of the country that we're seeing a spike, not because of the dominance of the legacy players that were there that are looking to change, but there's new emerging territories, new emerging markets that you all could look at to kind of build out your vertical. But at the end of the day, it's the real-time information. It's getting off of pencils and paper, spreadsheets. There are still many, many companies that use the top 3, top 5 products. And when we interview them, 30% of the accounting data is still being done in spreadsheets because they just don't have a complete program. And they're also relying on other types of programs for data collection. So the property management solution from Sprinterra is very unique opportunity from an Acumatica perspective, because what you'll learn and see is this product has been born in Acumatica. Many of the ISV products or the third-party products, although they're really good and they're high functional, they do have a learning curve, right? It has a different user interface, different ways of accessing and reporting and querying data. The advantage here is this has been built in the Acumatica platform, and it's brought in all the capabilities of data tracking for owners and for their different types of properties. So this can be used for commercial, residential, industrial, multifamily. You have brokers that are now managing properties. So this is a great software program for brokers, not only from an accounting perspective, but the CRM capability that brokers look for. Institutional holders, there's large insurance company, pension funds, institutions that hold on to real estate, and they need software that is SOC 1, SOC 2 compliant. They need software that is at a enterprise ERP as far as security, redundancy in the cloud, and things like that. We talked a little bit about the fee managers. We talked a little bit about corporate real estate, but these are just the areas of entrance of presenting the solution. So it's built on the cloud, like I mentioned. It has the same user experience. That's a big deal, right? You want to be able to bring in additional solutions to Acumatica with a little less training and differentiation. But here it's using the same functionality, same user interface attributes that you're used to implementing and supporting already. To a new client that hasn't looked at Acumatica or Sprinterra, they're going to see a very seamless, robust product that doesn't require a lot of third-party type add-ons. It is scalable. Many of our clients are 5 users in that range. We have some clients that have 10 users that use the software. We have other clients that have 100. So the product is scalable from that perspective. Seamless integration, as we talked about, and the competitive advantage we'll kind of talk about. But some of the things I've already mentioned as far as being contemporary, the Acumatica backbone, some of the things, some of the key features and attributes within Acumatica, especially with the introduction of some of the AI tools, really makes this a very competitive product. If you are a partner and you're looking to compete in this space, these are all the names that we all know about. Sage was in that property management space and they've exited. They've got quasi property management, but nothing like what the market demands and what Acumatica and Sprinterra put together. Yardi, yes, they're the 800-pound gorilla. They have three different versions. One is somewhat contemporary but not full feature. The other one is truly legacy. It's been around a long time, but it does serve a purpose. There's a saying back in the day, no one got fired for buying IBM. Well, that's kind of holds true with Yardi, but we've been very successful to compete against them and even remove them and move them over to Acumatica and some clients. MRI, old time name, they've been around a long time, very established, good reputation, but pure legacy. Appfolio and Resman and Entrada, these are all dominant residential. We do handle residential, but not as complete. So we may want to have a conversation as to some of the unique things that your residential multifamily 3, 4, 5,000 unit client might have. But at the end of the day, Acumatica is competing very successfully in the commercial, retail, industrial, and light residential mixed use type of scenario. And then next year, Sprinterra will build out the offering to compete to the true traditional multifamily, subsidized housing, condo market type scenario. So the advantages here is that because of the database inside Acumatica, we're able to really make this the central repository of all the data that goes to the properties, the spaces, the leases, and even the configurability that each user can add their own attribute, their own field, and those can be quickly available for reporting and queries and document merging and things like that. The biggest competitive advantage that we've been able to leverage is escalations and recoveries. 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 prospects that we speak to in real time, yesterday, last month, is that many organizations are doing this on what I call pencils and paper. They're in an Excel workbook, there's 2 or 3 sheets, and Margaret, the bookkeeper, Margaret, the property manager, is tapping somebody on the accounting side to get the expense information. Then they're tapping somebody on the AR side to see how much the tenant's been paying as a pro rata amount. It's all disparate and it's all coming together in a spreadsheet that sometimes takes hours, if not days, to compile. And then they've got to kind of do this hard dog right math to actually give the tenant the very specific, easy single page that explains the escalation that's taking place or the recovery that's taking place. And Sprinterra has done a superb job in listening to the market, listening to clients, listening to our staff to build out an all-inclusive in the software escalations and recoveries, a huge time saver and really good, accurate type system. And the other area that we see is work order requests. There are many property management companies that don't self-perform maintenance. They outsource all that, but they do want to be the traffic cop when the tenant raises their hand. So they want an easy way to record it, track it, bill back the tenant, bill back the owner, get visibility, look at their assignments. This is a really nice work order program built in, but the field service module is an excellent solution for those management companies that self-perform and does a great job from that perspective. But these are 3 really key areas that there's a lot of other advantages, but from a property management perspective. As a partner, if you're looking to get into this space, I've touched on it a little bit, but you may inside your current user base, you may have developers that might be holding and managing their own properties, or they may say, we've got some properties, but we're using XYZ, and then you can offer them, hey, would you like to bring that into the platform instead of having to do journal entries and imports and things like that. You also have developers that will, in a down economy, developers will get into the fee management business. They'll go to their friends and neighbors and say, hey, listen, I've got a little extra staff here. Can I take over the management of your properties? So that's called fee management. And like I said earlier, there's brokers and there are companies that all they focus on is managing properties for owners called fee managers. Uh, this is a very strong product for commercial, so don't be shy going after any type of commercial type. And then residential, we want to be a little selective, but we do have clients that have mixed portfolios. They've got 300-400 commercial tenants, and they have 50, 60, 80 residentials. And these could be single family homes, these could be apartments, it could be duplexes, triplexes. So there are a number of ways for us to handle residential, and that keeps changing, every couple months as far as functionality. The typical user in the property management space, they're pretty smart people. They're well educated. They have a very strong background in accounting, in management of assets and management of people. At the end of the day, they've got to deal with the tenants, the owners. So they're really a good group of people to work with. They get it. They're very transparent. They're very open, share information, and they're very good users. You teach them how to fish, they become very good users. They don't find reasons or excuses. They'll raise their hand in the right way. They're just really, really good people to work with. 9 out of 10 that we come across, are using QuickBooks. They're using Excel. There are some that have what I call the ankle biters. When you hear $1 a door, $2 a door, those are very low feature, basic, collect the rent, pay the bills, but nothing to the level of a management program. There's accounting data, but there's management data about the asset. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Usually in the property management space, there's two silos. There's the accounting team and there's the property management team. And either one of them is a great place to start. But in an evaluation, they both come together because they both work. Like I mentioned earlier, people are tapping Margaret's shoulder to get cost information because property managers are big on budgets. Budgeting is a big deal. Budgeting is a big event. And that's where Acumatica hits it out of the park with its tools from a budgeting type perspective. Velexo, those of you who have been using and recommend Velexo, this is an excellent tool for every project manager type person. So when we look at the property management as an overall solution, right, it is the accounts receivable function. It's where I call turning the crank. It's doing the billing, handling the cash receipts, everything you want from a complete AR type scenario. And then that, of course, is handshaking into that multi-entity intercompany accounting system. That's really a big deal from that perspective. Development, yes, the construction development functionality Acumatica plays really well to a pure developer, but also to a property management company. They have tenant improvement projects. Okay, they have renovation projects. They have to track those. They bring Nike in as a new tenant. They could be a $40,000 concession on a tenant improvement. There's a budget. There's cost codes. There's costs. There's contracts, right? Sometimes they have to have a contract and they want to track that. So property management is also dealing with the improvement and maintenance and repairs. Doing the construction aspect besides just being a servicing developer. We talked about the properties. Usually you have properties that will be one-to-one, one property, one LLC, or you could have three properties that roll up into one LLC. So it could be, a strip center with an out parcel and a medical complex. That's all, under one LLC, but it's three different properties. You have, again, very strong portfolio and roll-up reporting inside Acumatica. Now, when we talk about the data side of it, there's the tenant, information about the tenant, the leases, and the whole idea is to take that 2-page, 10-page lease document, abstract it, get it in the system one time. So that way you can run reports, you have query, etc. So this is a tenant management system. It's a lease management system because it's going to track all of the escalators in the lease. If it's a multi-year lease, you have scheduled charges that change based on date intervals. And then maintenance. We talked a little bit about work orders. So what I want to do here is, I think I do that. Yeah, I'm going to shift my screen over here. Bear with me. Give me an okay. Garrett, you see my screen?
I'm still on the property management review screen.
All right, let me stop and share again. How's that?
Good. I'm with you on the property management dashboard.
Okay, perfect. All right, so what we want to do is kind of, do a visual, kind of tell a story here. If you're seeing Acumatica for the first time, they're really big on dashboards. And, this is the fruits of your labor. This is where all of your data has been put into the system. You've turned the crank. And you want that real-time visibility. And again, you don't have to tap people on shoulders. You don't have to have somebody create a custom report. So, Sprinterra and Anton Systems have kind of put in a lot of some KPIs, some of the key things. But understand that anything you see here is configurable by the user. There's some that come best practices already, but you'll be taught how to fish to change colors, change however you'd like this to look. It's a very key feature that gives the empowerment, to you. So I'm going to just briefly kind of go through the food groups here. This is tying into your accounting. So, if you're a property manager, owner type person, you might want this kind of visibility. Here are your leases that are expiring. Here are some open work orders and their statuses. Here's lease options that are coming up. In this case, there's no insurances, so we have full compliance tracking for insurance tracking. Here are upcoming scheduled rent increases. Here's your open AR, open AP. Again, everything in Acumatica is drillable. So wherever you see a hyperlink, yeah, you're able to drill down. You don't have to go to a different menu. And just continuing, you got, bills to approve. So Acumatica has got a big feature here for review and approval. And that's a big deal in the property management space, that property managers, because they're budget driven, need to have some visibility to review invoices before they get paid and compare them against budgets and those types of things. So that's just, kind of an idea of what you're able to get out of the system visually. Here is what we call the property management module. On the left-hand side, these are the modules that are in Acumatica. If you're already using it, then you know what these mean. If you're looking at Acumatica for the first time, this is where your receivables, your payables, your general ledger, your checkbook, and cash book and all that stuff. These are the entry points. So this is the entry point to property management. Everything you see here is all functionality that's built into the core system. And the best way to illustrate what property management is from a data perspective, I call it the three-legged stool. There's three areas of data that is the most important, that must get populated in order to be able to run the system for processing. The first is property. So you want the ability to set up the property, and this could be the building, it could be, a building with multiple units, but you define what your properties are. You have different types, so you can differentiate commercial, residential, retail, industrial. So you can, large portfolios can do groupings. Just like in Acumatica, you can move your columns, you can add columns. But we're going to focus here just on the data object. So at the Flagler object here, this is the user interface that says, okay, I want to look at Flagler. I want to look at as much as possible on all the information that pertains to this particular property. So we have fields, and you have the ability to move fields, and there's a number of configurations that you do, but this is more of the best practice out of box, right? Here's your information. A lot of, again, data. A lot of things that people are keeping in post-it notes and other disparate systems. Make it as centralized as possible. In Acumatica, everything can be locked at the field level for security purposes. So have the peace of mind that you can track who can only add, change, or delete. You can, track who has access to these tabs, etc. So quickly, property attributes. in Acumatica, you can create your own user-definable fields. And when you create these fields, they're automatically available for reports, inquiries, and even interrogation using the new AI technology coming out early next year. So this enhances the ability to make sure every key data point is in your database. This now associates the lease space, I'm sorry, the spaces that go into this property. And again, you can differentiate and track certain information here and tell you it's occupant. I can actually click through and I can actually look at the lease that's tied to this. And this is a really nice feature because I don't have to go to a different menu. I can stay right here and go, okay, let's go look at this lease. So now this is another data point, right? Is the data about the lease, the data about your tenant. So here again, it's going to pre-fill some of the key information. Here's some summary. So we got Sally and we got lease terms. Notice all the critical dates are here, very important. Base rent, recovery charges, escalations and recovery type things. If you want to do some industry tracking, in some cases when you're doing corporate real estate or anchor type tracking, you want to be able to pull your leases. Renewal statuses. Again, this is alerts and notifications. Let the system proactively give you 30, 60, 90-day warning on renewals. Those of you that may have, it's kind of not as much as it used to be, but there are certain types of leases that are paid based on their sales. Usually liquor sales has one percentage, soft goods has a different, but it has that ability. Miscellaneous notes, great for a note taker. Who are the individual contacts that are at this for this lease? Again, here's your critical data information that you can update, add, change, right? Any lease date details you want.
Michael,
Security.
can you reshare at rows on the lease history? Perfect. We're back with you.
Okay. So you have a security deposit and then the space. And again, I could have a lease for multiple spaces. So in this case, this is a one-to-one information about that. And again, see, I could drill down and go back to the property. You have that capability. This is what we call your charge schedule. So you would define your charge or your income, and this ties to your AR. So that's your income charges and billing date and et cetera, et cetera. If I want to look at the space, I can do that. If I want to look at the schedule, like for example here's their schedule all built out. So you're able to see that. Expense recovery, big deal, being able to handle expenses and recovery, and I'll show you something related to that in a minute. And then late charges, where you can define the late charges, based on the lease. You have the ability to attach files. Full document management is available to you. And then there's also a notes tab, little scratch pad, good place to keep notes. These are available throughout the Acumatica platform. So wherever there's a data object, you can add notes, activities, and files, which is really nice to have. The other area that's nice is activity management. So this kind of gives you a little bit of ability where property managers could create internal notifications or external, where they could externally send an email to a tenant or send it to a contractor or however. So this really opens up the communication capability and assignments. And then you can have a dashboard that shows, hey, here are all of Mary's tasks that she has to do. If you don't know already, Acumatica has a mobile app. So Acumatica plays nice where, alerts, notifications, and those types of things would be available to you through the Acumatica platform from that perspective. All right, so we basically highlighted what we call properties, units, and leases. That once that database is built up. Let's go ahead and look at a particular lease here and a couple other attributes. I'm going to look at lease, I think it was on my second screen here. 0, 0. I had it right here. Here it is. Here too, you can do filters to filter your columns.
We're stuck back on lease 11 again, Michael. Okay, with you on lease 3.
Okay. I'm going to turn off my camera to see if it helps on bandwidth. Okay. All right. So here on this lease, I want to just kind of show a couple items. In the in the expense recovery area, you would define your different types of pools, percentage recoverable. You can do a calculation, so it will go and do the data dip into GL. You can bring back estimated numbers. You can also adjust your periods. So we don't have time in today's session, but the point we're trying to make here is that all of the data elements are defined here, and then it's doing the handshaking to the general ledger to bring in the expenses, and it's then handshaking to the ledger record as to what their pro rata share that they've been making each month, so you can then reconcile at the end of the year. So if that's a recovery issue, or it could just be a straight CPI, then you put in the CPI number, etc. And once this generates that calculation, you can then generate a single page statement that, and if you give me 1 second, I just can see if I still have it here. No, I don't have it here. Anyway, I wanted to quickly show, but you have the ability to generate a single page document that will show the breakdown of the current situation, what the escalation charges are, what their new billing rate is, and if there has to be any type of debit or credit to what was already paid. So a really nice feature, from that perspective. All right, so to move on quickly here, there are within the software ability to have different type of lease templates. This helps you to quickly, help build your database. You have a commercial template, a residential template type of scenario. You have the ability to generate a lot of different reports. As with any report in Acumatica, it's all designed around being able to run the report, save it, edit reports. Let's see here. Oh, figures I forgot the one I had here. Let's go. So in this case, when the report is generated, you can print it, say print it to a PDF, print the actual document. You can send it. And Acumatica has a workflow engine where you actually could say, at the 15th of the month, end of the quarter, take certain reports and package them and automatically send them out. Maybe send them out to the property manager, send it out to the asset manager. So this is a really nice feature here. And as in Acumatica, everything that's in the system can be dropped into an Excel. And in some cases, there are some pre-made pivot tables. In many of the reports, you do have the ability to drill down with them as well. And this is pretty much native, throughout their product. So in the few minutes that I have here, just to touch on, there are areas of the reporting, which is very powerful. There's also the work orders, being able to create work orders. This is usually a really nice feature to have, that not only are you creating the work orders, you can track charges to the work order, miscellaneous information, pictures, attachments. Here too, you can have customized fields. So if you were to maybe track, something at an asset level, in this, you can do that as well. Who do you want to contact? And then the activities, all the meetings that took place. You could create a task. to assign this out to somebody. You can generate an email, etc. So pretty robust from a work order reporting. I mentioned earlier that the work order could then either just be expensed out, or you could bill back the owner, or you may bill back the tenant. That full integration is there as well. So in 1,000 words or less here, there's a lot of functionality to the product as far as database collection, the full billing and cash receipt capability. I just want to note as far as tenant payments, Acumatica has a great feature called Click to Pay. So when you generate an invoice, there can be a link where your tenant can go directly and make the payment. And that just expedites payment to you, payment to your bank. There's a lot of things done under the hood to help expedite that. We find that that's very popular on the commercial side. Yes, they can send you a check. Yes, you could receive an ACH, but for them to do a click and pay and pay by credit card or however they want to pay, that's great. So that's a nice little feature built into the product. Also available is a tenant portal. So if you're looking for a tenant portal where the tenant goes in, creates the payment, looks at their history, creates a work order, we do have that capability through our tenant portal as well. So hopefully we've given you enough information, both as someone that wants to enter the market to provide selling this product and servicing it, or if you're a current prospect looking for property management and Acumatica, or you have Acumatica and would like to add property management, we would love to continue the conversation with you. Thank you, Garrett.
All right. Thank you, Michael. I know we're close on time. There's just a couple last minute things that I'm going to run through, and then we'll be all set. So one thing I wanted to touch on is you may have noticed a little sneak peek in Michael's demo, but there was a tab down there regarding our AI assistant that we've built. So we won't go too deep into this because this is probably worthy of its own demo in and of itself. But essentially, all the core areas of our solution, when you look at lease management, you look at work orders, legal compliance, charges, rent tracking, all these different areas, we've built an AI assistant which can assess all of that data in an instant and answer questions that you have about each of those specific areas. So again, that may be something that we can schedule a follow-up with you to go into detail on, but that's something that we have included in the product as well, is a pretty robust AI assistant for you. And then I also wanted to share, so this is more so for our VARs who are on the call, but just a very high level overview of our process, how to get started and how to get rolling. So first is to identify and research any existing and potential clients that you have, which you would then register with Sprinterra, and we would work with you to schedule a discovery and a demo. This is where Anton Systems comes into play, and they can be very helpful with the experience that they have in the property management space. So this is where we would work with Anton Systems on your behalf as well. We go through to the final sell, and then we also have resources available to support with the implementation phase as well. One thing I want to make very clear on this, so in these situations where you are leveraging Anton Systems and their expertise, you are going to remain, of course, as the partner of record on the account, and that's something that's very clearly noted both internally as well as to the client as well. So there's no conflict of interest there. And then the final thing that I wanted to share with you, as we probably have just a couple seconds left, is general pricing on the product. So this can range a bit based off of whether the client's going to be select, whether they're going to be enterprise, some of those details. But typically, it's going to be kind of in that $10,000 to $15,000 range, just to give you a ballpark. For implementation, this can vary depending upon many of the nuances of the particular client. So we can work with you kind of on a case-by-case basis to figure out where that lands. But just to give you an idea of that general pricing, 10 to 15 is typically what you're looking at. Again, highly dependent upon whether they're on a select version or an enterprise version. So with that, we'll open up. If you do have any questions, we'll hang around and we can help you out there. Otherwise,
Garrett,
we
there are
really
a couple
appreciate
of
your
questions in the chat.
Looks like we've got a couple questions in the chat. Let me. All right, so will the new Bill.com partnership with Acumatica integrate with the receivables as well? We have 2 tenants that pay via Bill.com. I'm not sure off the
Yeah.
bat, Michael, do you know
Well,
if
yeah,
that's going to?
the bill.com integration is more designed around accounts payable to pay bills. It's not designed for, at least this release of it is not defined as an AR tool.
Okay. Yeah, but there may be other options, Rebecca, if we can have a conversation and learn a little bit more about the situation there.
Yeah, in that case, the Acumatica click to pay is that option that your tenant hits a hyperlink, goes into a screen, and they make their payment right then and there. Kind of mimics what a Bill.com or Avid or any of these other AR programs do. And what's nice is that's native in the product.
Yep, correct, Rebecca. All right, and then we have a question from Kay, trying to understand what's native in Acumatica and what the software adds. Do we have a grid on that? So essentially, Kay, so we can provide an outline on that, but most of the property management specific features that Michael showed you today are part of the property management solution. We can give you an idea, in more detail what that looks like, but I think kind of the beauty of the product is it wasn't really simple to tell what's native Acumatica versus what's part of the property management solution. And that's the beauty of the product is it integrates so closely and it's built directly off of Acumatica's UI. But all of those, looking at your charges, looking at your leases, looking at all of those areas, that's all part of the property management solution. But we can provide a little more documentation that outlines what is the property management solution by Sprinterra versus like a standard Acumatica AP, AR, and that type of deal.
The question about
Okay.
housing.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the question here, and I'll pass it to you, Michael, what are some of the limitations Sprinterra faces when it comes to subsidized housing?
Today, we don't have the mechanism for handling subsidized rent and the output of data and the reports that sometimes are required by agencies like HUD, et cetera, like that. It's on the roadmap, but it's nothing that we do easily today.
Okay.
If we could very easily set up the conventional rent and the subsidized rent, bill it and collect it. But as we know, there's a lot of other parameters that you need to track and report on. So that we don't have that today. Make sense?
Okay, and any other questions before we go? All right, again, we really appreciate your time today. If you have any questions in the future, please feel free to reach out to us. I've got my email here for you. We'll also have the recording sent out to you that way you can review, and then we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you all.